Trying to go live and see if that works here. Just tried to pull up something. Oh, so I guess I've been talking here and now it just went live. So maybe, like I said, I am not an expert at this. This is something that I don't know what I'm doing. Hey, Brian, thank you very much for the comment there. Again, if you'd like to come on, I've dropped a link there. Uh, Again, I don't know what I'm doing. Nobody else is on tonight, so I thought I'd jump on and see what's going on. Several different people pulling this weekend. I don't know if you were planning on doing so or not. I know Bruce has already done his. We'll see. So I'll try to. See where we're going here. Make sure I know where the comments are. See if we got anywhere we need to be. If you build it, they will come. Yes, thank you. That's my philosophy too. Like I said, I'm no expert at this, but if somebody else is not putting it out there, then yes, I will put it on as well. Give everybody the opportunity to do so. So that's the way I feel. Trying to get this hammered out here. So if anybody's out there coming on, give me a comment, see where we are at this time of year, coming into July. I know that last night, one of the comments that Bruce had made was pulling at this time of year in the South is where we need to be because hive beetles are coming. And they're going to ultimately end up coming in and taking over if we don't. So if the longer you last into the end of July and moving into August is a problem, and there are some timing issues that need to be taken into consideration because ultimately, if you don't do something, then you are going to end up having your hives end up getting slimed and have the potential to lose all of your honey. And that is something that's happened to me in the past. With losing honey or whatever at that time of year, when you just think you're about at the point to start taking in a huge harvest, that the hive beetles end up taking over some of your supers and sliming them out, and then you have nothing better to do than just to lose that honey and put it. The bees can still utilize it to a certain degree, but for the most part, pull it out, let them rob it, and you've lost that production for the year. I don't want to get into that position. So I don't know where some of y'all are as far as looking at honey this year and where you are as far as pulling things. That's where I am. We'll be looking at probably, like I said, Friday or Saturday, pulling some honey out, pulling some supers off and getting that started as extracting. I don't have as much this year as we had last year. We lost a couple hives at the beginning of this season, and consequently, we are at the point of probably having about a third of much honey as we had last year. But c'est la vie, right? That's beekeeping, isn't it? Excuse me. So that's where I am, July the 3rd, 2025. Again, before the 249th birthday of the United States tomorrow. And we will be looking at putting some material, pulling some things out. trying to navigate here. I am no expert at this for sure, but we are here. So Thursday night, I see Brian says, I'm going to pull honey this weekend too. I thought that's what you said the other night, Brian. So I know you have done, I think you've gone from what, 0 hives at the beginning of this year to, I think you said, 19 or something at this point in time. So you've had quite a rebuilding year and have done very well at taking in a few new packages and splitting those and bringing them on. Yeah, from 3 to 19. That's quite a quite an accomplishment this year. I went from about 8 last year, probably down to 4 or so this year. I'm back up to about 6 or 7, and looking to, after we're done with producing and extracting this year, I'll probably be looking at, I wanted to do some queen rearing and take that as a first step this year, trying to get some stuff done, and adding probably an additional 4 to 6 hives. Says I might be adding 4 more or so as well, so I'll try to end up with over 20. I don't know that I'll make it to 20 this year, Brian, but I would like to get to about 12 ultimately. My problem is where I live and my ordinances. Yeah, the most I could have here on this piece of property is 4, and right now I have about, I'd say 6 hives, 8 colonies total, but I need to find an out yard and try to move to an out yard for the first time and have some bees at a different location. So I want to grow a little bit and get to that point in time. So that's quite an accomplishment to go from 3 to 19 or whatever in one season, knowing where you came from after a devastating loss or whatever last year and getting to that point. Yeah, Tom and Melissa, I'm just trying to jump on here and see what we can do. If somebody else wants to come in and talk, we'll work on it. Nobody else was on tonight. This is usually Ricky's night. I know Ricky's kind of going through a little bit of a transition right now about where he is in his bee chat. And I know he's been running horizontal hives for several years now, and we've all been party to that at one time or another at certain times. And now he's, I guess, sold his business and moving on to another chapter of his life. So that's a good thing for him and Ruth to move on and do something different. I know at one time he was looking at doing beekeeping and building horizontal hives full time. I guess that has changed a little bit in his thing. I haven't talked to Ricky totally about that, where he is, but we all have had different seasons of our life to where we move on to a little bit of different things. Hey there, Grayson. How are you doing? I've posted a link up there about getting on. I don't know if I did that correctly or not. If somebody that's more experienced about this than me, let me know and I'll let you in. I see it says present or invite. I'm not exactly sure how some of that stuff works. So you all are out eating dinner tonight. Okay, Tom and Melissa, well, enjoy yourselves this evening. So I've only got a couple people out here watching. If we don't get a few more, I'll bump off. But I just thought we'd give that opportunity. Usually this is out here at this time, and since nobody else jumped on, Tom and Melissa sometimes jump on and substitute in. JW sometimes jumps on and substitute in at this time. But I was sitting out there going, well, it's time to get on tonight, and nobody's out there. So I thought I'd give it a shot and see what happened. Yeah, Tom is lacking. Well, we know that happens. We know Melissa's the one that runs the show over there anyhow most of the time. We know who the boss is, don't we? I guess I need to post this and show it. I do know how to do that. I don't necessarily know how to let other people in and do a lot of other things on here, but we're learning. We'll see. So I don't know where Tom and Melissa are. Brian has already said this evening that he's planning on doing some pulling this weekend. I don't know if you're at the same place, Tom, up in there in Indiana where you all are. If St. Louis, Missouri, sorry, I said Indiana. St. Louis, Missouri, if it's coming in up there. I'm planning on pulling a little bit this weekend, probably most of it this weekend. We were going to be out of town, but we're now back in town, and we will be pulling a few things. I probably have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, let's say 7 deep supers worth on my production hives that I've got going on this year. So it's not going to be a great honey harvest this year, but we'll take what we can get and we can go from there. As I was saying a minute ago to Brian, we'll look at building and bring in a few new hives on this year and probably expanding. I'd like to get a out yard started. This will be the first time I've done out yard. I was going to also trying to do some queen grafting this year for the first time. We had in our bee club, we had a queen grafting class that took place probably 2 months ago. And I can tell you that I'm not the best at queen grafting, but we'll see how that goes. I've got the equipment to do so, but evidently I don't have necessarily the talent to do so. So we'll see if I can't develop that expertise over the next couple of weeks and try to get some of what, Greg talks about, those solstice queens, summer solstice queens, that building up after the summer solstice takes place, that those typically make some decent queens. And as you take those through the fall and then over winter, and then those tend to be very prolific queens come next spring. And I'd like to build up and make sure that I've got it. I'd like to get to where I've got 8, 10, 12 very viable hives as I come into the spring next year. If I can overwinter those, if I can build those with brand new queens, and come into next spring with a dozen viable hives, I will consider it to be a success this year. Yes. Tom, you say you need a ladder to get to the top. Right now I have I think there's a double brood box out there with 1, 2, 3, 4 deep supers on top of it. So 6 deeps total after it's already sitting, 1, 2, 3 cinder blocks off the ground. So 8, 8, 8 is 24. So it's already sitting 2 feet off the ground, and a top another 4. So about 28 inches off the ground. And then 6 times 9 inches, let's say 6 times 10 is 60, is another 5 feet off there. So yeah, it's 7 feet. So yes, I have under supered, pulling those heavy honey filled boxes off the top to put some additional boxes underneath this year. And you're pulling those 60-pound boxes or whatever off the top to put brand new ones underneath, and you are standing on top of a step ladder in order to do so. So yes, that's for an old fart like me, that's getting to be a little bit of a tough job sometimes. So Grayson, to answer your question, yes, I've probably got 1, 2, I've got a horizontal hive and another one that I've rescued at the beginning, and a big hive, and then 2 other swarm hives in the split. So I've probably got 4.5 hives that are producing hives right now, and that are production hives. Some of those only have 1 deep worth of honey super on top of them, and one of them has 4 deep worth of honey super on top of them. So probably looking at, if I get 200 plus pounds of honey this year, I'll be a happy man. But grafting queens, trying to graft queens. I was going to plan on grafting queens. I am grabbing frames out that are going over to make splits from swarm cells earlier in the spring. And that's what I put into a couple hives, and they are coming back. I did lose some of those. I lost a couple at the very beginning of the spring, which was very detrimental. But I'm planning on bringing those back. So I've got 4, 5, 6, 7 in a horizontal hive that are across the back of my yard right now. But I'm planning on trying to get to about a dozen at the end of this year, going into the fall, going into the winter. So I don't know how that goes as far as trying to paste something at the top to get somebody else to join in if they want to. Hey, DC, how are you doing? Hello, JW. How are things in Missouri? So yeah, I've never had time to graft this year with long surgery recovery. I'm kind of bummed out about it since it was one of my goals. Yeah, one of my goals too. I actually have 2 queen grafting frames. I've got 100 JZBZ cups. I've got the easy peasy queen cages for after they actually develop those queen cells and can take those out. I don't have an incubator. I was going to take them into, because I only need about a dozen new queens to requeen and expand the whole apiary. So that's essentially what I was looking to do, is graft and make a few new queens, replace all the queens that I have in my apiary at this time, and do a little bit of splitting in order to do that expansion. I don't want to get too many. I was kind of like Brian to a certain degree. You know, I don't want to be, hashtag 25. I want to be hail hashtag, a dozen at this time. I've only ever bought 1 nucleus colony, and everything else that I have done has been organic growth from within my colony. With the exception of catching a swarm and splitting one swarm, everything else has been prodigy from that initial colony that I purchased. So that's where I went from 1 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 8, 8 to 10, 10 to 4 or 6. So I think y'all have been there too, to where you kind of go backwards with what you've had. So that's exactly where I've been. Hello, Mr. Rawls. How are you doing, Joey? Good evening. How is things in Franklinton, Louisiana? I'm sure you're probably, hot. I'm sure, Joey, have you pulled yet or not? I think you're probably about that time to start pulling stuff as well. Even though I think Mike Berry is about the time over there in Loranger, and you in Franklinton. Bruce, like I said, Bruce has already pulled over there in Dothan, and I'm looking to do it tomorrow. Even Brian up in Cincinnati area. Brian, you're not in Cincinnati. You're north of Cincinnati, aren't you? It's Tom that's in Cincinnati area, but Ohio area is ready to pull. Hey there, Mr. Rawls.
Hey man, what's up?
Did I get you? Okay. Hey.
Yeah.
I'm new at this. I know you're an old sage at adding people and stuff. So if I cut you off did something wrong, let me know. And
I'm still growing too.
I hear you. How are things in your neck of the woods?
It's hot.
It
Yeah.
is hot.
You asked if I pulled any honey. I pulled uh, in 1 yard. I pulled about 15 boxes. Some of them didn't have much in them. Some full, some half full. So I did that day before yesterday. I got them stacked in the honey house. I was actually supposed to, thought I would do it yesterday, spit them out. And I said, I'm going to rest. So thought about doing it today. And mom called, needed some help. So I went and helped her. And when I got back, I said, I'm not doing it today either. But maybe tomorrow. But I got them setting up with a dehydrator on and fans on them. And maybe I can get in there and get them out. Get that done. As soon as I get them emptied out, I'll go back and grab a few more.
Yeah, I was planning on going over to Mississippi this weekend and eat some pig and some goat, over there for 4th of July, and then come back over on Saturday and start to pull. But my wife kind of got a little under the weather, and so we're staying home. So I don't know that I'm going to pull tomorrow. I'll probably still pull on Saturday, but it gives me a little more time to get some stuff done this weekend. So
Yeah.
so how do you pin this link to the top?
It's pinned.
I put it in the comments over there, but is it
Okay,
pinned
it's
at
not pinned. Okay. You got to go to YouTube, the YouTube side of it,
okay,
and click on those 3 dots.
gotcha.
And it should give you choices there. One of them is pinned to the top.
Yep, I am not proficient at this.
My first or second time, it took me about 10 minutes to figure out how to get that done. There's Mr. JW.
He's on there out there. There's a bunch of people out there. Yep, happy birthday, Eve America. 249 years. I guess we'll be looking at 250 next time.
Yep.
Next year. So this says present or pin invite, copy. I can do this down in the corner over here. That I do know how to do. But I don't know how to actually pin it at the top or whatever.
Are you in the YouTube area?
This is in the StreamYard side, I guess.
Oh, you got to go to YouTube and find your link you posted.
Okay, well, I'm in it, but I don't see any comments.
I just assumed it was pinned because it's the first thing that you posted.
Well, I posted something at the top, and that's how you got in because I put it over here in the comments on the StreamYard side. But
yeah,
like I said, I have done 3 of these lives in my whole life. It's me again, Joey. It's not me again, Paul. As far as doing this, so I just put it down there in the comments once, and I guess that's where you hit it down there. So I could do that, but I'm definitely no expert at this. So yeah, I'm looking to probably do that Friday or Saturday. But yeah, it was hot out there today. I think I think it pushed about 110 today, heat index or something here. Lee over at Kodiak's usually my weatherman. He's usually the one that tells me, how hot it's getting around here. But I walked out and went to the grocery store, went to the bank or whatever today. I was actually off today. And once I left this house and walked outside, it kind of hit you up against the hot side of the head as soon as you went outside pretty quick. Yeah. That's what humidity does to you.
Yep.
So I don't know. You're over there with Michael Berry, and you're over there close to Jeff too. I don't know where they are in their journey.
Mike's got some of his honey pulled. I don't know. There's Mr. JW. I don't know if he's finished, but I know he did some.
Okay, I guess we're done with the PG portion of this program since JW is back on this here. So, do I have to put up a disclaimer?
Uh-huh.
Oh no.
I figured out how to get a hold of you. I'm going to get even with you now, buddy. I'm going to wreck your screen.
I'm here. Go for it. You the man.
How are you going to the Louisiana Beekeepers Convention?
I'm planning on going to it. I have not got my tickets yet, but I will probably be staying in that same hotel that we did last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see they put Mr. Berry on the ticket like a VIP. He's going to be a speaker now this year, huh?
Yeah. Probably won't be able to get around him.
No, that's it. He's done. He's going to have that. He's going to have an entourage everywhere he goes now, isn't he?
I might have to be his bodyguard or one of his.
You might have to be his. You got to push people away and say, no. You have to come back later to get an autograph, right?
Everybody want to touch him.
Well, I know John Hill's not going to be able to use him as a salesman in this year. If he's moving up, he's going to have to pay him a retainer or something like that in order to be a Hillco representative down here in Louisiana like he was last year, huh?
Yep. I tell you what, he stayed pretty busy last year.
He did.
That was a job having to go out there and load them in August now. You're in the middle of August and you have to go out there and in a hot trailer and pull the box out and load it up in somebody else's truck for them. Then come back and sit in that air conditioner talking to a bunch of people.
Yeah, he's getting to be too big a head on him. We got to watch him. We'll have to bring him back down to earth a little bit, won't we?
Yeah.
He's just an old country boy.
I'm gonna get me a shirt. I knew Mike Berry way back when.
before he was famous.
Yeah.
We need to get a couple of those shirts and wear them up there to the Louisiana Beekeepers Association.
There you
we
go.
could do that. I knew Mike Berry before he was famous. I get Sticker Mule to print us a couple of those.
Yeah, me and Mike used to sit right beside each other at the meeting that we used to have in Covington. We'd be on back. Actually, Jeff was on one end, and let's see, it was Jeff, somebody else, and then Wreck-It Ralph, and then me, and then Mike Berry. And if my wife was there, she was here, and then Mike Berry. And we'd get back there, and when Mr. Julian passed away, he was the one that actually owned the River Regions Club.
Yeah, he was the old guy that was there he was your old mentor for years and years, right?
Right. But anyway, the family had asked Jeff to start running it to keep it going. He did, and when Jeff started getting up there talking all the time, me and Mike and Wreck-It Ralph, we would heckle him. Every time he'd say something, we'd go, not quite right. Messing with him. This is the good old days.
Yeah, he's definitely a good old boy. Yeah, there's a lot of them we could say that about. Hey, I knew Cayman before he was famous. I knew Mike Berry before he was famous. I knew Randy McCaffrey before he was famous. I knew Joey Rawls before he was famous, and J.W. Irwin before he was famous. Before J.W. did his jig up there in Louisville, Kentucky, and I think that went viral on YouTube, didn't it?
I don't know. Oh.
Yeah, I know somebody took a video of that and posted it out there. So yeah, we're there.
See what Castle High said?
Yeah, it's about right, Brian.
I think it was. He's good, you know. I always like Mike Berry how he says this is not a how-to video, you know, this is a how I do, and that's how I've always been too, you know. I tried to do that video stuff. I made a few. If you go out to my YouTube page, I've made a few videos and stuff like that, but the more I get to it, I'm like going, you know, I'll leave that to Brian and Castle Hives, and I'll leave that to, you know, Bruce and those guys. They do a lot better job at it than me. You know, I've put a few different things out there, but I'm still a working man. You know, I'm not an old retired fart like JW, where I've got all the time in the world just to do that kind of thing.
You got the old and tired part. I don't know about the we're just tired.
One of these days I might be able to get back into that, but that's exactly not my calling at this point in time. And I like getting out to bees and doing things. I don't, to me, it's more of a chore to make those videos. I know you make a lot of them too, Joey, and you post a lot of different things, but to me, there's a lot more people like y'all that do a much better job at it than me. So I need to leave it to the young guys that know what they're doing. Isn't that right?
Just aim and push record.
Aim and shoot, huh?
Yeah. But I tell you what, this thing right here, see what color that camera is?
Yeah.
And you got to set it right out in that hot Louisiana sun and push record and hope it don't overheat and turn off. I have so much trouble with them. I had to have 2 of them.
Yes, you get different angles that way.
Yeah. But when you try to record, seriously, when you try to record, it takes up so much more of your time. When you can go in and do a job, 20-minute, 30-minute job, it might take you an hour when you set a tripod up, you know, talking to the camera. I've done so much talking to the camera and my dog. I always talk to myself sometimes and even answer myself. But it eats up some time because you want to get that camera angle and move things around and go turn it off and move to the next hive and turn it back on.
So I know you've got Joey. You've got the HB1 hive lifter, right? The first model.
It's B1E. The B1E.
That's the B1
electric.
Yeah. And that's the one that's more like
it's a dolly style.
Dolly style that lifts straight up, right?
Yep.
And then I know Michael Berry's got the B3 or whatever that's more like the cantilever one like this, right? That's the same one that Charlie has.
I think his is a B2.
A B2?
Mike is a B2. And I think Charlie's got the B3. I'm not sure.
Okay.
One's hydraulic, one's cable.
I think James McNally or whatever up in Canada's got one of those too. I don't know. JW, do you have any of those hive lifters?
No, I've got a John Deere.
I
rigged up for it when I do. I don't use it very often. I can pick them up. I rigger me up a deal like the flipping deals like on those, on a set of forks on my John Deere loader. I got a small John Deere loader.
Okay.
And it works, but it just it's more unhandy to get on and off and the whole bit. So
you just a man's man. You go up there and manhandle them yourself, right?
No, I've got a bad back. I got to watch what I do. I've got ruptured disc in my lower back. If I get carried away, if I get carried away, I end up getting carried away because I get down.
I hear you.
So
you end up hiring it out, or
I've been working. Joey, I have to show you a picture of my new swarm catcher. I've been working on it all day. I had some hydraulic leaks on it, so
Oh yeah. Let's see.
I I don't even have anything here available. I was just turning through things and I seen fall hail hives. I thought I'll just go in there and sabotage that guy's.
You give me a hard time, huh? That's okay. I'm used to it. I dish it out. I can take it.
Yeah, there's my new swarm catcher, and I've got some hydraulic leaks on it. Other than that, everything works good on it. So it was a used one, of course.
They
So
were
I've been
just
building.
new ones.
I've been building some new doubles. I've been building, this having to have too many pieces of equipment to do beekeeping, and I'm trying to combine like 3 different pieces of equipment into one. So one of the things I'm doing right now is I've got in the garage, I'm building some double screen bottom boards that are also screened inner covers that are also screen bottom boards all in one piece. So what I've done is I've taken a deep hive body and cut it into thirds, put some dado joints all around it. I'm cutting out a piece of plywood in it and drilling 6 holes down across the middle. The 2 holes in the top and the 4 holes in the top and 4 holes in the bottom will be screened. And the 2 holes in the middle will be able to take a jar feeder if you wanted to. And then down the middle is going to be a piece of wood to where I could actually put those with a slotted deep on top that you put a piece of melamine or whatever down on top of it, and you can make 2 nukes across the top and use that as a new nuke nursery on top if you put that double screen board in between. So I'm about done putting those together. I need to probably put a picture of that out on my channel or whatever ultimately when I get that finished, but it's going to be one piece of equipment with some. Then they've got some dial entrances on the top that you could dial to where the entrance on the top or entrance on the bottom of that side, on the front and on the back. So they'll have 4 entrances on the front and the top and the back. So you got one piece of equipment that could actually serve as any of 3 to 4 different pieces of equipment that you've got right now. So that's kind of one of the things I've been working on right now. Because I'm using, I don't know, Joey, are you using doubles? Are you using screen bottom boards or screen inner covers, or are you just everything solid?
That screen bottoms is about all I've used for 10 years or so. But this past year, I've started kind of transferring over to solid bottoms. See how that
Have
goes.
you?
Yep.
Well, I built a under entrance screen bottom board that I really kind of like after what I saw on a national hive from England at one time. Instead of having the slanted front, where it goes into the into the bottom board, it's actually one that they actually come in from the bottom and then enter in underneath. So that's something I've been building and trying out to see how that works. And then I'm also looking at replacing some of my screened inner covers and double screen boards with this other new piece of equipment.
Yeah.
So I want to try to have a few pieces of equipment that I can utilize, and that way I'll have, reduce the number of pieces of equipment that I've got in the yard.
Yeah,
Something try different.
I used the screen bottom boards for years, and that's just what people told me I needed to go with when I was getting set up years ago. And I've used them, but after several years of using them, it just seems like I have watched hive beetles go in and out that screen, that 1/8 screen. And I said, that's just making it easier for them to get in, So
Yeah.
now they got to go in the entrance, the solid bottom.
So are you using beetle barns or something on the bottom of that solid board?
No, I don't do it. I've always, for a long time, I used the oil and I hated it because I made a mess and I always forget it's in there and pick a
Yeah.
box up. Sometimes
You
it
put it on its side.
bottom and I'd spill it all over the bees. So I went to the
The diatomaceous
Swiffer.
earth.
Well, actually, it was some kind of lime. I don't forget what kind of lime I used for about a year, and it worked good. They'd get in that lime and die, just like the diatomaceous earth, same thing. As far as getting rid of the beetles. But that got kind of aggravating. Then I went with the Swiffer sheets, and that was pretty good. And then I just quit doing that. I don't do anything now. I just let them push them up to the top and keep them up there.
I'm actually using all three. So I just bought some of those new ones that you put a little bit of apple cider vinegar in the middle thing, and then you put diatomaceous earth or oil in the other. Then I've got the beetle barns that I've bought too, that I put a little pea-sized piece of pollen patty in the middle, and I squirt that combat roach gel around the outside and then close it, stick that in there. Although the guy at Nobby this year was talking about how that's got fipronil in it, and that fipronil actually is somewhat poisonous to the bees and can come out of that little trap. So you've got to be careful. So he talked about something different, and so I might swap from the fipronil into that material. And then I also use the it's not Swiffer sheets, but they are the I want to say Dixie towels, Dixie 900 towels, H900 or something towels, or what they're like the Swiffer sheets or whatever. So I've got a three-prong approach because I've had honey slimed out before, and the last thing I want to do is end up, spending all year long making honey only to have it get slimed out at the 11th hour before I pull it.
Yeah.
And those daggone hive beetles can ruin a lot of the bees' work in a short period of time, and you can't sell that honey once they start getting in there and crapping in all that stuff.
Yeah.
So that's my approach. I've used all three different ones this year. I just did that this year. I've used the beetle blasters before with diatomaceous earth in them, and they do well. But
they got one now. I don't really know a whole lot about it. It sits on top of the frame, and it gives them just enough room for that beetle to hide up in there.
Yeah, that's what the Bruce was showing last night.
When you go in there, you push down on it, and it crushes those beetles.
Yeah,
I don't know what it's called.
Yeah, that's what Bruce was showing last night on Stream Team or whatever.
I saw it. I can't even remember.
But if you've ever used the beetle blasters with a black top on them with the clear thing and put either oil or diatomaceous earth in there, the beetles still get up underneath there. The first thing you got to do is run that hive tool across the top and crush all those beetles before you would ever pull that out.
That's something I did learn from Mike Berry. I never thought about that, but they can get under that thing, so you just kind of mash it down.
They hide under that thing. First thing you do when you pull that off, you may see them running around, and they'll get under it and just rip across the top and then crush them all before you pull that thing out of there. JW don't have to worry about that up there, do you, JW?
I have a few, but not on occasion. I like them little old beetle gels the best myself, like you're talking about with the slot in the middle, and they got the little lips that hang over the top of the hive, kind of hook on there.
Yeah. Well, I just bought a new box of 100 of those and 100 of the beetle barns too. So
the those black ones, those beetle blasters, I don't like them things. They get out of shape. It's hard to get them flat down in between in the hives, and that's just my opinion. I've had trouble with them, so I don't.
Have you used the beetle barns before? The little things like the CD
No,
cases?
I haven't. No, I don't. If I see, if I see, if I open up a hive and I see 5 beetles, I figure I've got a pretty high infestation. I just don't have a lot of trouble with them. But I do.
If I see 5 beetles, it's a good day.
Well, I try to watch them. If I see a beetle of any kind, I'll stick some traps in a hive. I don't want them to get a toehold, so to speak.
I don't know if you watched Bruce's video from last year about hive beetles when he pulled that lid off, and he probably had 100 of them running around in there. And I was like, going, "Oh my goodness!" But I'll see 5 or 10 of them all the time, in and out of the comb and running across the top, and but it's depending upon how many larvae they have and running the screen. That's one of the nice things about running that screen bottom board and running a tray underneath. As you pull that tray out and take a look at it, and the larva will drop down into that tray too, and you can see them.
My big problem with damage, last week, I don't know if any of y'all seen some of my posts that I made on my what my coons had been into, but my coons got into my Hive Alive, and they got into my Apis Biology rocket fuel pollen patties. They got into my Toravaga diatomaceous earth, all the pieces, and had it all over the place.
Really?
I've had a real problem with my little night bandits. They just driving me nuts up here.
Well, you displaced about 24 of them last year, didn't you?
I know people probably think I'm the biggest liar in the world, but I've live trapped and moved, as of a couple days ago, 106 coons.
Oh wow! Good.
14 skunks and 7 possums.
Wow. Well, when you live in the middle of the country, that's what you get, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's aggravating.
Well, I trapped a coon this last year myself. Now I'm in the middle of a neighborhood, and they live in the storm drains around here.
Yeah.
So they come out of the storm drains and they come back into my garden, and they end up eating my figs and eating my tomatoes and all that kind of stuff. And I ended up catching one probably about 2 months ago, and having the animal control people come out and take them away. So I back around my garbage cans, I see little footprints in the mud after it rains, and that's when I know it's time to put a trap out again.
Yeah. I'm out in the middle of nowhere, so I don't have really any real close neighbors and stuff, so forth. So I do have 2. I've got one in my yard just across through the woods. But I'm lying to you, I do have a close neighbor. But I'm surrounded by rural area, and I've got lots of wildlife. Deer, turkey, coons.
You get coyotes moving in and that kind of stuff too?
Yeah, we got a lot of coyotes. Coyotes is no problem in my area. There's lots of them, but they don't. There's enough game, but they don't bother the livestock or anything.
Yeah, but they don't take care of the coons and the skunks either, evidently.
No, they don't.
Catch them.
No, they don't. I've got some catching my barn cats. In the last month, I went from 27. I know what it is. I've got pictures of it. It's the bobcats. They're getting my barn cats. I went from 27 to 9, and I lost another one last night. They're the little ones.
So for the coons this year, are you painting their tails blue this year since blue
this year? Last year I went yellow, and this year I'm going blue. I've never, people.
That year should have been what? Yeah.
I think what I'm fixing to do, Paul, I don't want to get you in trouble by saying this, but I'm fixing to paint them dead. I think is what I'm going to do.
Is that what it is?
There's just so many of them. I just can't.
You're gonna find them in that cage at the bottom of the pond, huh?
Yeah. Poor devils just drive me nuts. They're just tearing up they've destroyed. I had a full.
You're mute, Joey. I didn't know what you were saying.
Yeah.
I had a full box of Hive Alive. I mean, you know how many ever was in there, and they tore it all to pieces. They didn't eat the Hive Alive. I think that they didn't like the thymol. They tore every package open.
So they love the cardboard, but not the innards, huh?
No, and the Apis Biologic, they destroyed it. I mean, I had a whole box. I don't know how many's in the box, but surely 25 or 30. But they probably damaged $150, $200 worth of bee supplement products of different natures for me. And I had three little bags of diatomaceous earths, and they tore them all to pieces. Got that white powder scattered every place.
I got the same problem with rats out in my shed. I don't have as many coons and stuff around here, but I've got a shed in the back that's got rats all in it, and they end up chewing through everything.
Yeah. Well, thank God my cats kind of keep my mice and rat pup. I've not seen a rat at mine. Knock on wood. I haven't seen a rat around my farm in 25 or 30 years probably.
Man, my wife would rather have rats than
Around my
cats.
farm.
She's not a cat fan at all.
Mark Miller says paint them with barbecue sauce.
Yeah, there you go.
I've ate a few of them in my time, Mark, but I'm going to have to get desperate if
I've eaten a lot of things, but coon is not one of them.
Nah, they're not too bad if you got to they've got a little old scent glands in their legs and stuff. You got to get all that stuff out of them if you're going to eat the meat. They got a wing to them if you don't. But some of the older folks, my mama was from your country. She knew how to fix. She could fix them with those. I wouldn't say they was good, but they was fit to eat. They'd eat a snowball. I'd gripe whenever I griped to her about what we eat. Well, she said, "Well, beat the snowball, son."
I've eaten rabbit and I've eaten squirrel and stuff like that, but coon and possum, I don't know that I have. I mean, I've eaten jellyfish, I've eaten octopus, I've eaten all kinds of stuff from the sea too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and down here in Louisiana, my joke is always in Louisiana, if it don't run faster than you do, we make a gumbo or a sauce piquant out of it. That's what we and that includes rats and nutria and whatever else.
You got Joey hungry. He's eating in front of us.
He is. You saw him. You all saw him smiling there.
Looks like you could share a little bit of that, Joe.
Joey's probably had some nutria gumbo. He'll probably confess to that.
I hadn't had any nutria, but I have had coon.
Something people probably going to laugh at, and it's actually pretty good, is muskrat. People won't hardly eat a muskrat at all, but I've eaten several of them. They're not that bad in my world.
Well, I don't think a nutria is far too different than that.
Never ate a nutria, but I imagine they're similar.
I would think they're very close.
I don't know that I've ever seen a nutria. I lived in Florida for 17 years, but they don't have them.
What part of Florida were you in?
In the lower Panhandle.
What part?
I lived right there in Port St. Joe and Mexico Beach. There, just on the other side of Panama City. There,
okay.
In the bend on the Panhandle.
I got you. So around Panama City, a little
east
of Panama City.
I lived southeast of Panama City. There, about 50 miles. Where I lived, a little town called Port St. Joe.
Now, I know where Port St. Joe is. Big paper mill there.
Run a charter boat out there for 17 years.
Mexico Beach got hit pretty heavy by a hurricane.
Yeah, wiped it out. I got lost though. Last time I was down there, everything changed. Wiped out all the trees. I lived there all those years. And I went down there and visited here a couple years ago. I was going to take a shortcut through the town out to leave town, and I got back in there and it changed much. I got turned around, didn't know where I was, so I had to go back to the main highway. 98 goes across the coast there.
Yep.
Just it comes clear around. I was on Highway 98 and I was going to cut through, and I had to turn around and get out of there. I was running into cul-de-sacs, and all the trees were gone. All the old landmarks were gone. Just like a different going into a brand new town.
I was born in Kissimmee and went to high school and college in Gainesville.
Yeah.
And then we ended up taking a convertible from Gainesville through Perry, around there, Mexico Beach, up into Panama City. Got sunburned as can be with a convertible running that far.
Yeah.
Did they ever get Mexico Beach built back?
Oh yeah, it's like I said, that's where I got lost, Joey. It's completely changed from what it was where I lived down there. It just wiped it off.
Okay.
I actually built 3 houses while I lived down there, or we did, or had them built, so to speak. And 2 of the 3 is just concrete slabs. Walls are left to them. Then the last house I lived in Port St. Joe, just down the highway. But Port St. Joe's in behind the peninsula,
The dip.
It didn't get full. Mexico Beach cut the full brunt of that storm surge, and it just wiped them buildings out.
Yeah, there's too much retirement money there for them not to rebuild, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, it needed to be wiped out. They didn't have any infrastructure. They didn't have a good sewer system or anything like that. There was houses during that .com era. There was houses sold in there for $1 million houses that had two metal drums for septic tanks and stuff like that. They didn't have they didn't have any code system or anything, and this just awfulest mess you ever seen as far as structural integrity on the houses that they was putting in there during that .com era.
Well, a lot of stuff along the beach has been transitioned over the years. I mean, it used to be, Florida Beach property was considered scrub property for so long, nobody wanted it.
Oh yeah.
And then all of a sudden everybody wanted it, and they had stuff that had been built in there from the CCC after the war.
Sure.
Built some of that stuff in there.
It's but it probably was for the better in the long run. They've got some decent structures in there now, I think, and they got building hurricane resistant, getting them up where the water surge can get underneath them and so forth. So
yeah, now you can't hardly afford to go over there and rent a place or whatever. Florida passed a law a couple of years ago that anything that's over 3 stories tall had to have a engineering survey done.
Yep.
After that, the one down in Miami collapsed because of the structural steel and the rusted rebar or whatever running through the structural steel. And then they also, for the price of insurance on the beach has gone so up that the rents down at the beach there from Apalachicola all the way around to Gulf Shores in Alabama.
Yeah.
It's just gotten to be ridiculous.
Now, before I quit and come back here, I run I had a charter boat captain and boat in Orange Beach, and I had one in Destin, and now I run an offshore boat out of Port St. Joe there for several years. I was a reverse snowbird. I'd run charter boats in the summer. In the wintertime, I'd come up here and play with my cows.
Well, right there, not too far from there, was it Tyndall Air Force Base?
Yeah, it's Tyndall. Yeah.
Is that the one that's right there?
Yeah, right there.
Right,
yep.
Right there on the, yeah, we would go, we were actually,
you come off of Tyndall right into the little town of Mexico Beach, That's
well, right back on the in the inland waterway side is where we used to go scalloping all the time. On the backside of where Tyndall Air Force Base is, right there, we were kind of really where the base extends their property into the bay.
Oh, yeah, okay. I know what you're
Yeah.
talking about. Yeah.
And we used to go out there in 6 feet of water and with tennis shoes on and stuff and go scalloping and get quarts of scallops after we're done shelling them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It's a good day.
usually, but that's the scallops are almost a thing of the past. They got enough pollution in there now. There's not many scallops, they claim. So
Yeah. Yeah, those Apalachicola oysters and the scallops out of that bay and stuff
and
like that. I
the
miss-
oysters are about all gone. They even shut down those beds there at Apalachicola. They're
yeah,
government.
you used to have good seafood down there.
Yeah. I used to go down there, me and my neighbors, we'd take us a 6-pack of beer and some Louisiana hot sauce and some go down there and sit on them oyster bars, just sit and shuck them and pick them up and shuck them and eat them, you know.
What is
I used
the
to-
fish that's opposite the flounder?
In Alaska,
I
The
don't know.
halibut?
Where it's at.
Halibut's in
Yeah,
the
big.
big halibuts. Yeah.
Yeah,
A halibut's
the
about,
other day, and I couldn't remember what it was.
it looks like a flounder, but it's about 10 times the size of most of the
Yeah,
flounders.
they can get up to 300 pounds. That big
Those things are
halibut.
huge. But they're nice, white, flaky meat too. Yeah. I'll eat just about anything once. You know, I've been to China, I've been to Taiwan, I've been to Europe, I've been to a lot of different places. I've eaten a lot of different things, you know, but and I'll try it once, and I'll tell you whether I like it again. I might not eat it again, but
That's
I like
that's kind of
Indian-
the way I am, Paul. I'll try anything maybe once. I try almost anything maybe once. But if I'm starving, I might can eat a liver, but I just don't like them. I can't stand liver. And I will never try to eat chitlins again in my life. I've only done that once. I'll never do it again.
yeah, I hear you. Been there, done that. Been
Yep.
there, done that. But liver, I grew up on liver. I ended up
Yeah.
growing up on liver and onions all the time. But I've gotten to where I don't eat much organ meat anymore. You know, kidneys and stuff, and livers and hearts and stuff like that. There's better things to eat. I'm getting a little more particular in my old age, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad lived on that stuff, Paul. It killed him. He was 94 when it happened, though.
Yeah. Well, I grew up with depression parents too.
Yeah.
My parents were depression babies, and you didn't turn your nose up at anything. You ate whatever was served, you know, kind of thing. And the Hail Creed when I grew up was fix it up, wear it out, pay with cash, do without. And that's what I grew up with. And that's a lot of more people need to grow up with that kind of understanding these days. And
I used to tell
Yeah.
everybody my grandmother on my mother's side anyway, she grew up, and even my mother grew up with having to eat a lot of eggs, cooked anyway, a lot of fat sausage and fat pork, salt
Yep.
meat, and
butter.
she had 9 siblings. My grandmother had 9 siblings, and none of them lived over 97 years old.
Yeah, that's short life, huh?
Yeah.
That's me. Well, I'm the last of my Mohican family, but I'm the youngest of 10. So
Yeah, but you all grew up eating all that kind of stuff. And in the 70s,
yeah,
hey, eggs got cholesterol in it. You
Yeah.
can't eat all that fat, and you can't eat all. You need to eat margarine, and then 20 years later they go, you can't eat margarine. That's all trans fat crap.
That's worse for you than lard.
Can't make up their mind, can they?
Mm.
I like to eat what tastes good. And that's why I used to say in Louisiana, I used to say I moved here 14 years and 40 pounds ago.
Mhm.
But now I've been in Louisiana for 40 years. And thank God that trend didn't continue, or you wouldn't be able to roll me out of this room. But but yeah, I've put on some weight over the years and enjoy Louisiana eating. That's for sure. I'll be the first to say there's not better food anywhere. Everywhere's got their specialties, and everywhere's got something good. But Louisiana is just hands down, everything tastes good. It ain't
Yep.
good for you. Don't ask what's in it, but it all tastes pretty good.
Yeah. That got you converted over then. You're member of the Coonasses down there.
I
Yeah,
am. I got
40
I got
years,
in there.
he ain't come here no more.
Yeah.
I've been here long enough. I used to say I'm from Florida. I don't say I'm from Florida anymore. I'm from Louisiana now.
Yeah.
Kids are born here, went to school here. They're all here, so
They don't know any better.
don't know any better. Well, I do know better, but yeah, I've been to England too, and you can
I'm
take
talking
that.
about
There's
kids that don't know any better. They're born and raised there.
You can
I've
take
never
that
been
English
to
food. I like Italian food, French food. You can probably keep most of the French food. Some of the fancy French food that, you got to eat it with your pinky up or something like that, kind of thing. Yeah, it may taste good, but they don't serve enough of it,
I like Italian too.
I don't. That's the difference in folks. That pasta stuff is too starchy for me. I don't like all that stuff. I can eat it, but I don't like it.
So Midwest is all meat and potatoes, right?
Pretty
That's
much.
about it.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. I'll eat a good chicken fried steak, but they don't serve chicken fried steak up there. They only serve that down south here with milk gravy and
Oh yeah, you get all that. You get a lot of it up here too. Also, you sure do. But the difference between the Yankees and the Rebels, I say, is the Rebels eat the leaves off the turnips, and the Yankees eat the bulbs.
I like turnip greens, mustard greens, collard greens. You
So
put that
do
with
I.
some fat back in it, and salt and pepper, and that's what I always say. Salt and pepper. Every vegetable down south here is just a conveyance for salt, pepper, and butter. I mean, whatever you want to put in it, that's it. Broccoli, collards.
One of your good old Southern staples I can't stand though. Grits. I hate
Don't like
grits.
grits?
I love grits.
My mama used to stick them in front of me every morning. Said you had to eat them, had to eat them, had to eat. I didn't like them in, and I don't like them. 80 years later, I still don't like grits.
Oh, I love grits.
No. I mean, and particularly don't like one of your, what you're going to say is one of your favorite is cheese grits.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, for sure don't want any of that.
fried catfish and cheese grits. There ain't nothing better growing up down here, man.
Shrimp and
Mullet.
grits.
Fried
Shrimp
mullet
grits.
cheese grits, what they ate over
Mullets.
on the coast. Yeah.
Yes, you did. Which mullet was a bait fish, and then you put it on the smoker, and it was dinner too. When you didn't catch any redfish with the mullet that you threw a net at, then you ate the mullet later.
A redfish was considered a trash fish for that Coonass chef over down in Louisiana. He started blackening it, and it became a rage, and it got to be. But for years, when I first started commercial fishing down there, redfish was considered a trash fish.
Yeah.
So,
You
But
you
that's
know,
good flaky white meat. That black drum, I'll eat it all.
when I was working in New York, some of the guys was wanting some black and redfish, and we couldn't get our hands on redfish.
mhm.
And somebody brought some bluefish, and wanted Richard Parent. He
Mhm.
said, "I'll cook it." He got in there. We had a little kitchen set up on the job. He got in there and cooked some black and bluefish, and I tell you what, that was about as good as anything I had. As far as blackened, it was good.
There's a lot of stuff. As long as it doesn't taste too strong,
Yeah,
or if it does, if it don't have scales on it, I'm a little questionable.
Yeah.
Needs to have scales on it. Although I've eaten eel too.
No, folks knew what they eat from some of these seafood places. It's not near what
What they say
especially
it
on
is.
scallops and stuff like that.
It's just
Now, you
plug
don't know
shark
what
and
to
ray,
do.
right?
Yeah, a lot of it is.
A lot of it's plug shark and ray, right?
A lot of it is.
Especially if it gets to be over this big around, you know. Scallops I always got were about, you know, the biggest around as a nickel was a huge one, you know. And now they get you ones that are the size of a 50-cent piece and call it a scallop. And I'm going, I don't think so. That scallop would have to be this big around to have a muscle in it the size of a 50-cent piece.
DC, aren't those steelhead a little tough and that steel kind of hard to bite?
And I remember going to Alaska. When we went to Alaska, I was like, going, why can't you just pick up all these daggone salmon that are up here just sitting in the water? You know, at this time of year, they're all running up here. They're just waiting to get, they're all tired from, and they say they're not any good. They're all mushy. They're all mealy. They're all got full of worms. They're all whatever. And I'm going, yeah, I know. Because I've seen a fish full of worms before, and that's not something you want to eat.
Okay. DC, I just ragged you a little bit. I know.
Just the head is stealing tough. That's what he says.
Pretty good eating there. Beats my old mud carp I eat around here.
We'll take it. But they, you know, shrimp down here, catfish down here, crawfish. And when I grew up in Florida, crawfish was called bait, not food.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of crawfish. It just tastes like whatever you cook it in.
Yeah, my parents, they're not big on crawfish either.
Yeah. I like shrimp, but I'm not a big.
I like them, but I'd rather have shrimp.
Yeah, me too.
I would too.
I can eat them, but
especially when the crawfish go to $4.99 a pound. It's like going, I'd rather have shrimp for price than those prices. You know, you start getting up there. But fried catfish is definitely something I'll definitely eat.
Well, when the steelhead come in out of the ocean, you can just, they just in them streams by the billions, aren't they? Can't you just about reach down and pick them up? Going upstream to spawn and die.
And we saw one of the places they had a fishery that had probably 1 million of them in a big pond and in a big tank or whatever there before they released them or whatever somewhere. That was either in Ketchikan, not Ketchikan. I guess that was in Juneau, Alaska, when we were on one of those cruises up there. We stopped by one of the hatcheries or whatever that they had up there for those fish. What kind of exclamations is he talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Those are all good words, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
So when are you pulling, JW?
Well, I may pull a little bit over the weekend. I don't know. I should be starting, but I'm kind of lazy mode. My bees aren't making honey like they should be. I don't know what I'm not real proud of my operation this year. I'm not going to have near the honey that I thought I was going to have 2 months ago. I can tell you that.
I don't know where some of these people got their flow from because mine was like this all season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just had so much rain stuff. It just throwed stuff out of kilter, and I feel like my bees they're bringing in nectar and pollen still pretty strong, but they just don't. I don't know where they during those rainy spells, they, what the nectar they had, they didn't clean it out. I don't have, my supers aren't heavy like they normally are this time of year. I may get fooled. I haven't been into them. I've got some hives that I've got 4, 5, 6, well, not over 5 supers on, but I've got some that they ain't even filled out one super, so I don't know. To be honest, I'm just not satisfied with my ability to make honey. So this year anyway.
Well, I've got one hive that's very hot, and it's like I said, I've got 4 deep supers on top of it, and they're pretty daggone heavy.
Yeah.
And when you're trying to lift it from 7 feet above your head off a step ladder to get it off, that's a little more than I'd like to do. Lift with your child. Yeah, well, my help's all gone out of the house right now, Brian. I know you still got boys at home, but my help's all gone. My slave labor has left the house.
Yeah, my baby turned 54 a couple of days ago, so I'm kind of.
Mine just turned 35.
I'm kind of on my own. I've got some good old buddies if I get in the bind, come over here over there on the dirty side over in Misery. They come over and help me.
Have to come over across the Clean River and come to your side?
Give me old Tom Sawyer treatment,
DC says lift with your legs. I tried that, but I can't grab the handles with my feet.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a little hard when you're 7 feet in the air to grab that stuff off a step ladder, though.
Well, I've had a couple of cases here in the last week or two of pretty strong robin, so I'm a little bit apprehensive about tying into pulling a bunch of supers by myself. They're just.
Do you use
them very long?
Like that?
I didn't hear you, Joy.
Do you use Honey Be Gone or anything like that?
Yeah, I did.
Usually, if you're using anything like that, the robin kind of holds back.
Well, I'll tell you what I had last week. I had 2 hives open. I had a hive that was queenless, and I was combining them. I took a new, a small hive, was mixing in with them. I had both hives open at the same time, and I had that queenless hive had a pretty much a full super of honey in it, and I just set it out there, wasn't even thinking, because I was always right in the middle of our main flow, and all of a sudden I had probably 500,000 bees in the air, and I didn't know. I'd never had that happen. Like it happened just all of a sudden. They come in and went to robin, and I run up there and got some Bee Quick. I sprayed that whole hive inside out and all around, and believe it or not, I got it slowed. They kind of calmed down, and I got it put back on, got it covered up, and I stopped the rob. They were sure robbing. I mean, big time robbing.
Yeah, first couple of years we actually extracted out in our carport. First year it went fine. Second year, yeah, we had 50,000 bees in the carport. Ever since then, it's been done inside in the kitchen because it's just what. I mean, they were dying inside the honey in the extractor.
I've got a combination shed that I do all my extracting in. I take all my supers off, and I put cardboard underneath and stack them where they're tight and cover them good. Try to get all the bees out of each individual super. I use Honey Be Gone or whatever you call it, Bee Quick, and I usually don't have a lot of trouble, but I'm a little apprehensive after I had that robin situation. about pulling a bunch of them at the same time. We'll see.
Brian says he's throttling his bees back to 3 supers. Any more than 3 supers, he don't want to deal with it. So, is that how that goes, Brian? 3 supers is the limit.
Well, Brian's kind of like me. He's not short. He's vertically challenged.
Is that what that goes? Is that what it's
Yeah.
called?
That's what I tell folks. I said, I'm not short. I'm vertically challenged. I don't know.
I saw his picture about him being in Utah or whatever. It was a pretty picture. He said he was south of Bryce Canyon or whatever out there. So he said left honey on it, and he's going to, I guess, take a peek at it tomorrow. I guess what Brian's saying is he'll pull honey or whatever different times. I typically leave it all there until 4th of July weekend. I pull it all.
Yeah, I like it.
Anything that comes after that, I leave it on there for them. I find if you go too late or whatever, the hive beetle population grows, and you run the risk of them sliming it out before you get it if you try to wait till the end of July. So I'd say 4th of July is you get an extra day, a holiday somewhere in there to spend the weekend pulling and extracting.
Yeah, every day is a holiday in my world. I just
Looking forward to getting there, my man. I just ain't
I
there
know.
yet.
Watch what you wish for. You know what goes with that, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
That's all I can tell you guys is watch what you wish for.
I figure between bees and the garden, I'll have stuff to keep me busy. I got about 2 years of foregone maintenance on my house that I got to get completed inside and out. So I'll be a busy man for a long time. So I won't be wanting for nothing.
Yeah, it is.
Now, when I get to be in my 80s, might be a little different story, huh?
Well, how dare you? He's trying to hurt my feelings, Joy. You're gonna have to stand up for me, old buddy.
Yeah, I'm not that far away from 80.
I'm not either. I'm going above it. That's the bad thing about me. I'm getting further away from 80 all the time. I'm getting going.
So where does that top of the hill actually exist, before they consider to be over the hill?
I've been blessed pretty much. I've been pretty decent health, able to go. It just takes me about 3 times as long to do the same. I do the same thing always done. It just takes me 3 times as long to get there.
Well, I can't complain. I have to say the same thing. I've been blessed. I think your health is more important than your wealth or whatever when you get to
that's for sure.
This age.
That is for sure.
So let me ask you a question then, JW. So what time does it take? I'm still only taking 1 time as long for me to do things. Where do you get to where it takes 2 times as long to do things? And where is the line where it takes 3 times as long to do things? I need to know where those pit points are,
It just sneaks up on you. I don't know where it comes from, but you'll find out as you get older. It just takes longer.
So you're not going to give me insight
to where why? In a lot of cases, you're spending half your time looking for tools that you lay down someplace and you forget where you put them.
That's my number 1 job every day is finding the tools I need for a project.
If I don't put them back in the same place they come from.
It takes me 2 hours to do a job, 30-minute job, because I don't know where I left my tools at.
Yep.
Well, then I'm really in trouble because I can't find the thing I just laid down 15 minutes ago.
Well, I'm telling you, you don't get better with age.
It don't get any better than this. Huh?
Day before yesterday, I've got 3 or 4 weed eaters, but the one I like the best and used, I looked for it for 45 minutes, and I had laid it. I've got a workshop where I put all my hive stands and make a lot of my bee stuff, and I had a radial arm saw in there, and I laid that weed eater across that radio arm saw and think I'd remember. I looked in every building on the place and everything else and found it right where I laid it 3 or 4 days before. That's aggravating, trying to get something done and can't find the tools that you just used an hour ago to.
Yeah.
Well, that's what my dad always said frustrated him. You know, he's still around, thank God. He's going to celebrate 90 this year. We're going to go down and celebrate that with him. My parents will be married 70 years too this year, so 70th anniversary and 90 years old. But he said one of the things, he says, the most frustrating thing is knowing you know something, but not being able to recall it. You know, the filing system's broken.
Oh, names, especially people I've known all my life. Or go to say something, even on, you know, I don't put on how-to little shorts and stuff. I'll stick up something just on my cell phone. I never edited it, and I'll go to say something and it just won't come out. Even on these chats, sometimes I'll go to say something and it just don't come together.
I did that the other night. Time I got my foundation laid out of what I wanted to talk about, I forgot what I was doing.
Yeah.
I forgot it.
I tell the locals up here, I said my brain locked up. It don't work off about half the time.
See, it's funny. I can remember that happened, but I can't remember what we were talking about.
Sure.
Yeah. And wait 10 or 15 minutes, you don't remember what you just said, right?
Yep.
DC, I've got a Foxhound. I've got 2 or 3 different brands of jackets. I've got a Foxhound. I like it pretty well, other than the cuffs. They're always sticking, after they get a little wear and tear on them, get a little stiff, they stick out. The Velcro on them close the cuffs, that's what I don't like about them.
I just bought one, but I actually haven't used it yet. It's still in the package.
You know, of course, I don't wear them a lot. I prefer a t-shirt and shorts and a veil. That's what I prefer to. But there's times that you gotta have to go to them, and I've got 2 or 3 different kinds of jackets over the year. And the one I actually like the best, believe it or not, is a little old cheapie made in China, I suppose, at John Hill. It's light and it's coolest. For in the summertime, it's the coolest one I've got.
Yeah,
Have
me
you
too,
tried to
especially
wear
down
that-
here in July.
Have you tried to wear that yellow veil that John Hill was giving out?
Well, I didn't wear the veil. I've got my bee jacket I got off of him a couple 3 years ago, and I've got it wore out, and it's yellow, and they're real light. But if I have to wear a jacket, I prefer that one. I've got a Comfort Pro that guy down there in Kentucky makes, or sells. Tom likes them real well. It's probably my second coolest jacket. Some of them, that Guardian's a good jacket, but it's just way too heavy and hot for me. I can't. And no
I
offense.
heard anybody complain about that Comfort Pro.
So.
Except for the fact if you hit it with a hot smoker though, and it doesn't do well, is what I understand.
A lot of them don't. I've
Yeah.
got one. It's called it came from New Zealand, or I got it off of Amazon a few years back. Called, I think what it says on it is Aussie Armor, and it's a good jacket. But like I said, I've got the point. I just about leave get stung once in a while. Wear them.
The problem is too many, like you said, the Guardians are kind of heavy. The problem is with half of these Chinese ones or whatever that they get from over, they got the trunk that's as big around as a 55-gallon barrel, but then they got arms that are only 2 feet, 12 inches long, and
I need them ones that got the trunk about the size of a 55-gallon drum ball.
I wasn't calling any names there, JW. Yeah, but then they only go this high up, on your arms, and You know, I don't know who they're using as models to determine what size to make these things for American beekeepers, but they chose the right person, that's for sure.
Yeah, you're right on that, Paul. A lot of them's odd sized.
So, like I said, I tried on that Foxhound one and bought one when I was at Nobby this year. You know, about 2 months later after I was actually there. They didn't actually have them there to buy, but bought it from
Well,
them
the
later.
Foxhound I got is that I don't know. It's kind of a brown. It's supposed to be a green or something, but it's not a white one. It's a colored one. You know, well, you ever watch Charlie Thomas's? He's got one of them. I've got one like Charlie's. It's the same color as that one Charlie wears on his post. It's a dark color. Now they make a white one too, I'm pretty sure. And if I was getting another one, that Foxhound, there's nothing wrong with it. Yeah, they call them olive, DC. Yeah. But I call them brown. They don't look they're not olive colored to me, what I call olive. But I've got one of them. I've had it, I don't know, 2 or 3, 4, 5 years. Time gets away from me, but that's probably
I just
my.
hope it lasts. Of course, down here in Louisiana, I'm looking for what I've had is a canvas one for the most part that I've used all this time. And August, no sir. Like you said earlier, it's been T-shirts, and I got a couple round veils from Man Lake they had for like $10 a couple of years ago, and I bought a few of those, and they're the big round veils, and so that big round veil and a T-shirt is fine with me.
I just buy an old cheap. They call them cowboy veils. I've had it forever. It come from Amazon, and I still wear it. In fact, I had it on about all day today. Max Reach.
So Tom says he's adding boxes.
Well, hopefully it's do some good. I've got boxes to add, but I don't think it do. And they're not even filling the ones that I'm getting. I was going to stick them on top of. I went around yesterday through a bunch of highs with another super in my hand. Never did get it put on. I just didn't need them. They're just not.
Well, he said he's adding boxes down there, so he's ready for another week to let them pull.
Matt Rams bought them down there. Just claims they're just stacking them on daily, but my bees aren't making honey. I don't know what the problem is.
Well, Tom says he's willing to come up there and help you pull your boxes while he's adding to his, so he's ready to go.
He's gonna have to get off the lake and get out from behind that wake boat.
I saw him on vacation.
He's gonna pull honey for me. It's kind of hard to pull honey down there on what is it, Taneycomo or Table Rock or wherever they.
I asked him when he was showing those pictures and he posted that stuff whether he bought that boat that he was playing on out there. I didn't know if he if he's planning on selling that much honey to where he can buy a new boat.
I think it's maybe a sister or brother-in-law or something. I don't think it's. I don't know that. I'm talking out of text there, Tom. Let you talk for yourself, but I think that's his brother-in-law's boat that they will do the wake.
It's like a truck. What's better than owning a truck? Knowing somebody that has one, right? So the same thing is true about a boat.
Wake boats in my world, they need to sink them with a torpedo. So what I think of them and them ski-doos and all that kind of stuff. I was in them old slow charter boats too long, where you couldn't get away from them, and they'd circle you and do everything else.
Yep, like I said.
Tom's sister, okay. I thought it was a sister or brother-in-law or whatever. Okay.
Better than owning, know somebody that has one, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, DC is somebody that works for me. Just went home and was out there on their tractor mowing and ran into a bunch of yellow jackets and got stung. She said she didn't know how many times it was, but the doctor said she had plenty of holes in the back of her head. My neighbor next door texted me and said, "Hey, I got swarms in one of my plants and I got stung and whatever." And I went over to her backyard. I didn't see a single bee, but I saw a bumblebee and I saw wasps. And I'm wondering, not saying she didn't get stung by one of my bees, but I didn't see any bees over at her house at the time.
That's something I don't have a real problem with. There's lots of them around. I never have yellow jackets that bother around my beehives. I've got lots of yellow jackets also, but they never commingle.
Oh, they've lit me up before, especially when mowing or something like that.
Yeah.
You hit one of those, man, they come out of the ground like
Yep.
an artesian well. Yeah, I need a lifter too, DC. That's where I'm at.
Well, the trouble is with that DC, that one that Ian's got, that lifter he's got, you got to be able to pull up to him and get the truck in there too. Most of my yard's a little tighter than that.
And you got to empty your bank account of about $40,000 too, from what I understand. A little rich for my blood. I don't have that many hives. Philip's in the house.
Yep.
You're down there. You're pretty close to Jeffy boy. He's got one now. I think over at the Abbey, and Joey's got one. Mike's got one. Heck, Shirley.
I can rent it. Is that instead of buying it, I can go rent it from Joey?
Good of friends as you guys are down there, all of you. Why, they'd just be more than happy to bring to each one of them. Come and bring their hive lifter and set them down there for you.
Joey's got one. Mike Bear's got one. Jeff got one now too.
Who?
Jeff. Last I saw, Jeff borrowed yours to move hives.
Yeah, he's got one. He bought one after that.
The Abbey bought it, I'd say. No,
Somebody
maybe
did.
I shouldn't say that. I'm just.
Somebody actually bought it for him.
Yeah.
I can't remember how that happened.
I'm just my wife's telling me I'm having a hard time spending $1,300, $1,600 on one of those daggone things, but my wife's going, "You'll be thankful later," and that's what everybody's saying is, "Hey, when you get to be JW's age, you'll be glad that you had it,"
Well, I don't know about that, but it's I have a lot of fun aggravating people about it, though.
We'll see.
Maybe I can fix me up a lift on my new swarm catcher, Joey. You think I could just make me a sling and I just pick up the whole hive?
Yeah. You got a big old set of tree tongs or something? You might be able to break that thing up.
I've got some log, some old log tongs.
Well, one of the things is, so right now I've got a 2 deep box brood box on my biggest hive, and I got 4 supers on top of it. So Joey, would that be one that you have? Could I take just the top 2 boxes off of something that's 5.5 feet in the air before I even start lifting? I don't think so, right?
Yeah, you can.
I think you could, but that one, I don't own one now. I'm talking out of school. I shouldn't be saying. I'd say that one. I don't know about what that one of Joey's, but them newer models like Charlie Thomas has got, I'd say you could lift up, that high.
Yeah, Brian saying that guy, he's been invited, but he's never showed up there to take a look at his stuff. So hopefully he'll come along and oh, who's that? Boris from Canada that makes that hive lifter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I imagine. I think he's got more business than they can get covered now, probably. So.
Yeah, there's another one that I saw that was from, I want to say, an Eastern European company, maybe the Ukraine or somewhere over there, that actually had power wheels. It actually, the wheels were big round wheels that actually had motors with them. So once you lift it, you could actually drive it across the.
Yes, they're propelled. Yeah.
That was kind of cool.
It don't have the grabbers on it. Where's my hands? It don't have the grabbers. It closes in on the box.
Oh, by
It's up
friction.
there, and you pull a lever and it just clamps on the side of that box. Pick it up a little bit and take it off.
So how much friction, or how much what is allowed to, how much weight can it pull up by just having a friction hold on it rather than?
I don't really know.
The first one I made for my John Deere was, I tried to do it that way, Joey. I made me a hydraulic deal to close it. I dropped 3 or 4 hives and I threw that thing in the junk pile and made me one that had the little flappers on it, just like you've got, where they got the springs where they go one way, you know, they'll catch going the other way. The friction deal didn't work for me. I'm not saying I done it right. I just said that it didn't. What I did didn't work. I can tell you that.
I got out there with mine pulling honey supers the other day. If I ever get this video posted.
What I don't like about them, Paul, is what I've seen of them. What I don't like about them, what I've seen of them, Paul, it just takes so much. You got to have a lot of room. I've got all my hives on individual stands, you know, which I've got a lot of room, but I like to stick them up, you know, the back of them, sometimes within 6 or 8 feet of a building. I'm telling you, I think you're going to have, especially that one like Charlie's got, I'd say you're going to have 10 or 12 foot clearance behind your hive, you know.
To get around it?
Yeah, to get around them.
Yeah.
Joey can tell you more about that than I, but that's what it appears to me. That it takes a lot of room.
There's Lee.
There's Lee. So Lee, you pulling honey this weekend? Where are you at?
Probably out looking for a rock to crawl over.
That's what he is. He's a rock crawler, that's for sure.
The audience is growing, Paul.
I've got a few sitting here coming in, a piece at a time. I guess they're all checking in before they go to bed, huh?
Lee's laying in a tent someplace, he says.
He's out there. He's probably looking at his phone underneath the stars, watching the Milky Way go by out somewhere out there where there's a big mountain next to him, huh?
Well, I hope if he's in this part of the country, he's laying there sweating to death. He's in a tent.
Yeah.
I tell you that humidity is about 110.
Yeah, we had a group of our church up in Vermont last week, and they said it was hotter up there and more humid up there than it was in Louisiana. I was like going, oh my goodness. Finished kayaking 29 miles today, Lee says.
Yeah.
He's a younger man. He's got a lot of energy.
I'm glamping. Okay. You're gonna have to try out, Brian. You're gonna have to try out one of them yurts. A lot of people's going to them out there in the West. I noticed renting them out. Someone's pretty nice, they claim.
Glamping.
Yeah.
That's what Joey does. Joey's got my kind of
glamping.
He's got that big pull-out trailer, pull-out slides on that trailer. He's got. Is yours a Class A or you got a fifth wheel?
Mine's a fifth wheel.
Okay.
My wife's is a fifth wheel.
Well, it belongs to her, huh?
Yes, hers. I just pull it.
Is that how they go? She got that from after she left her first husband. Is that what you're saying?
I am her first husband. Yeah, we've been through about four or five RVs. She finally found one she really liked.
That's what I'm looking forward to when I get to y'all's age and get to be retired too, is doing a little RV and a tour in the country and seeing who knows.
But the best
Retirement has
traveling
its
camper
benefits.
is one that's not real big, but you can still be comfortable in. Because the bigger you get, the more fuel you're going to burn. And it's harder to find a spot to park it.
And my neighbors across, I want to say they've got I want to say 28 footer or something like that. 28, maybe it's 30 foot fifth wheel. But they typically leave, they're gone now. They typically leave like first LSU game. And they go north where the weather's cooler.
There's hardly anywhere to go right now where it's cooler.
I think Yosemite is where they're going this year. I'm like going, yeah, you got to have a year reservation to go to Yosemite these days.
Yeah.
It's gotten to where you can't just pull up to a national park and go camping anymore. It's like you got to book it in advance.
Yeah, most of them's full, years in advance. I was talking to a friend of mine. He was going to want to get make a Grand Canyon, wanting to go down the Grand Canyon on those mules. They're booked up 2 years in advance for the mule rides to, go on the mule down the bottom of the canyon.
We took a helicopter. It's quicker.
Yeah,
I walked at the time that I went down in there. Well, I've been in there 2 or 3 times, but every time I was there, walked. My son and I kayaked the biggest part of it. He kayaked about all of it. Some of them little rougher places. I packed mine around it. I wasn't even going to try to go through them. Yosemite is right past Todd out there.
Oh, okay. Todd's getting into it here.
Yeah.
That's not what I understand, Todd. I mean, Tom. I said Todd. Sorry, Tom.
He can't even manage the one he's got, let alone somebody else's. I can tell you that. That's all false propaganda right there that Mr. Sossman's putting out.
More fake news, huh?
Yeah, that's fake. Yeah, that's right. Well said, Joseph. Hey, that's fake news.
He probably was sitting real close to her when he said that.
Yeah. Good night, everybody. It's wore out. Well, get over it, Lee. We're not very sympathetic to you. Yeah, don't tell us I said that. We're already putting the word out on you, buddy.
He didn't know she was in the chat. He pulled a Cayman.
Yep, she's probably in the other room listening. That's what she does half the time. I think that's what happens to some of these guys that are on. the other half's in the room listening.
Mhm.
Got to be particular there.
Yeah. Sometimes my wife can text me and say, "Where are you at?" And I said, "No." And I'm thinking, you already know this. You just seeing if I'm going to tell you where I'm at. We got that Life 360.
One button, she knows exactly where you're at, right?
Yeah.
Is it cool up there, Mike? Is it cool? Are you further enough north to be getting any relief from this heat, or are you getting it too? I think he's pretty close to the border. I think.
I think he is too. $90.
Oh, is that all?
Melissa said she's
Well, no use is coming in freeloading off of you then. We're looking for someplace cool.
that lands of 1,000 lakes, 10,000 lakes puts a little humidity in the air too at that temperature.
Mike, do you know where Palisades is? I had an uncle who lived at Palisades up there for maybe in the general area where you're at. I think that's the name of the little burg. Palisades, Minnesota. He's been gone for several years, so I think that's right. Then you got to go to all the effort of walking back out, Mike. When you go jump in, you got to jump back out some way. You think that's northern? Okay. Well, that's where my uncle lived. I didn't think it was that far up.
I lived in Wisconsin for a couple of years, and I know it gets bitter cold up there. And I know Mike, in some conversations that we had before, he don't have to worry about wax moths as much, and he says he puts his supers out there and everything gets frozen up over the winter time, and you don't have to worry about hive bee larvae, wax moth larvae, and all that kind of stuff. So it has its benefits, but you got to put up with that freezing cold weather in the wintertime too. So although we had Joe, I think down here in Baton Rouge, you got to about 18 degrees last year. Here, I lost my citrus trees.
Huh. We got close to that. What were you at? 22 this year? Earlier this year?
Is that where you were at? 22?
Oh, that was early March, wasn't it?
Yeah, into February, we got 18. And like I said, I was trying to, 2 years ago, we had about the same temperature, but I covered them and put lights under them and stuff like that and kept them alive. And then got some oranges last year, but this past year, boom, dead as a door. So I dug up orange trees. The fig trees made it through, but the orange trees did not. So there's Russell saying good night. Good night, Russell. You have a good 4th of July too.
I did a little bee talking here. I did. It pulled I got one of Ricky Rourke's horizontal hives. It was pretty much packed out.
Yep.
And I pulled some brood and larvae and some resources out of it. And made another box, and I had a queen. I built the box one night, and I had some queens come in that I got from Lappy's. and I stuck one in. I just shut them up overnight. The next morning, I stuck her in there. They seemed to accept her. I just jerked the cover off of that queen cage and dropped her down in the box just to see if she lived or died. And I believe they accepted her. I haven't been back in there to check. I'm going to leave in a few days before I look. What do you think, Joey? Think that'll work?
Yeah.
I've got one of those with 6 different compartments in it, and I've been taking more and more compartments off of it. So they're packing it. I've got one hive now in 5 compartments of that 6 compartment horizontal hive from Ricky. And one other compartment as a separate little nuke hive with 5 frames in it.
Yeah.
And it's struggling, but I'm trying to let that much come back. And so you're right. I've been taking resource frames out of that horizontal hive and putting into some other hives too. And they just go right back and fill it right back up.
Yeah.
So they've been doing gangbusters in that thing this year. I've been
Yeah.
really liking it.
I'm a neophyte with them. That's the first one I've ever had. I don't know anything about them, but I'm slowly learning. But I've pulled, I guess this is the 4th hive I've built out of that horizontal this summer.
Where's the entrance at in your horizontal?
Mine's on as you're facing it, it'd be on the right end.
It's on
Then
the
I'm-
end.
Yeah, well, it's not on the end, it's towards the right end on the front. It's just like a 6-inch slit or so. But you'd think that the brood nest would be in front of that entrance, and it's down about maybe 1.5 feet, maybe 18, 20 inches away from the entrances. Down in the middle of the whole hive is where the brood nest is on it, which surprised me. And that's where they build all their brooding. If you can, I've taken brood out of that brood nest area. Not all of it at a time, but take a frame or 2 of brood to start another box with, and they'll brood back in the same place. They don't. But I thought they would probably brood down next to that entrance, but they sure don't. Do yours?
My entrance is right on the end, so.
No,
Yeah.
the end of the box, the
Yeah.
true end of it.
Yep.
Yeah,
Mine is like right here.
yeah.
And
got you.
they start their brood. They may put food in the first frame,
Mhm.
but usually after the second frame on around frame 11 is all brood.
Well, like if this is just my Turner, but if this was it, I don't know which way to go. It'd be just down here at the sand, right, like that.
Yeah.
That's where mine is on the.
So it's on the long side, but it's close to
Yeah.
the end of the
Yeah,
bone.
it's close to the end. Yeah, but they build all the brood. Like if you're, this is your entrance down here, all the brood will be about there. Be up a good ways from the entrance.
So how do you share something, Joey? Do you hit this present button?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that, DC. I didn't have my. I didn't let her fly away. She's dead. I replaced the one you talk about a couple months ago or a month and a half ago. Because I went back and that hive was totally queenless, and there wasn't when Matt was out here that day, he and I went into it, and there wasn't an bit of brood egg larva in the whole hive, and I stuck a nuke in it, and it took right off. And then I'm robbing again for resources.
Can you see that? There's mine.
That looks cold.
So that was when we had snow this year. That was after we had the 18 degrees and we got that snow down here in Baton Rouge. So I've got each of these is a separate 5-frame nuke if you want it to be, or you can slide the traveler board or whatever all the way down.
Yeah.
So right now I've got it across 5 of them, and then this one down here by itself. And
I
all
remember
this
when
is
you
full.
first put bees in that thing.
Yep. So that's what I bought it for, just to kind of be my queen rear, so I can use these as mating nukes, separate little mating nukes, and bring queens out of this one. But I've never gotten to that point. But this year I'm planning on doing it with now that we're past summer solstice or whatever, and I've got a hive over here that is, like I said, 4 deep, 2 deep bottom brood nests and 4 honey supers. So as soon as I pull those honey supers off top, then I'll pull some of that and start splitting those into this.
Well, my horizontal that Ricky made for me, he made me he made me 1 3-frame and two frames, nuke boxes on one end of it. And the rest of it's all open, and I built my own follower boards for where I can expand or close it up depending on how my bees are doing. But the problem the fault that I find with like your hive there,
Yep.
I would like Ricky to have reversed every other one of those and put the other entrance, instead of having them all on one side is offset.
Yep.
One way, the next one the other way, the next one back the original way.
So Lee's, I don't have a picture of it, but I do have a picture, but I don't know exactly where it is. Lee's has actually got 12 different. So mine has 6. So you can imagine 12. Now they're staggered, kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, as they go like this with little dials on them. So he's got the ability to put 12 different little 2-frame nukes or whatever into each of them.
Yeah.
That gets a little tight.
Yeah.
Now mine I have had, I guess, 5 different hives in there at one time, 5 different, and because they are, that's one of the things Ricky did was for me was put those in at, he got each one of them a different color on the front. So each is a different, and so the bees have not really had a hard time distinguishing, and they're separate colonies when they're there. So it does pretty good. But I understand what you're saying, JW. It's kind of nice to have them front back to where the queen knows where she's going if she's coming back from getting mated. I may find that to be an issue when I get mated queens trying to return.
Mike, I just put some homemade ones that Matt Ramsbottom made for me, but I haven't. I just put them on yesterday, so I can't expand on how they're doing. I haven't looked again yet, but I put some on just to see. You talk about the extended release, I guess.
Yeah, I've seen some recipes for making your own. I guess we'll see how that goes. I may try that later. Right now, I've got the Larabi vaporizer, and that's all I'm using.
Well, I've been doing that too, but I've got my treatment done. I call it the 444. I give them 4 grams of 4 times, 4 days apart. So I'm through that. Now I'm going to stick on some release pads.
So you do that right after you pull?
Yep.
So I kind of do the same thing, but I usually start in September.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a week apart or week to 10 days apart. I'll do, and I don't know what 4 grams is, one of those blue cups full, which is probably about 4 to 5 grams, depending upon how much you pack it. And I'll do one of those, and then every 7 to 10 days, I'll do that starting in September all the way through to December. And that'll be the last thing I do. So I'll do that about 3 or 4 times, depending upon what I see the drop looking like.
I try to mix mine up. I'm gonna form it come fall or later on. Probably in September I'll form it pretty good. I've got the Rubby, the battery vaporizers. Last year I used Apivar and had good luck with it last year. My bees aren't. And I used in the spring, and I used Formic and Apigard both in the fall. My bees are tested. I'm going to retest them. My bees been tested 1, 2 at the most mites is all I've been coming up with. So we'll see. But my bees aren't suiting me this summer. I don't know why. I haven't figured it out yet. I'm not smart enough to figure it out. I'm going to have to get me a mentor that's older and smarter than me to figure out my situation. I don't know who to get.
Well, down here, with us a Formic, we can't use Formic probably till December anyway.
Yeah.
Till it gets cool, and we know it's going to be cool enough.
It's one of my preferred treatments. I've not had any problem with it. I don't go too awfully strong with it if I could, and I've had good luck with Apigard. I try to vary my treatments around. I've used about all of it. But Mite Away or stuff. I tried that a few years ago and I didn't have very good luck with it. I killed some bees with it. Can't think what the name of the stuff was. It wasn't Mite Away, but it was something like that.
I think I know what you're talking about. I forgot what it was called too. It was not the thymol stuff, but the
Thymol, the stuff with thymol in it, it's Apigard.
yeah, it's not the thymol stuff, but it was some other stuff like thymol, but it had some other kind of organic natural organic treatment is what you're talking about, I think, isn't it?
But it wasn't Formic.
How long does it have to stay in that temperature range when you use that Formic? For so many days, or just while?
Yeah, if it gets my thinking is around 80 to 85 for 2 or 3 days you can get by. Then it can get hot, Joey. But I'm gonna still let off gases. I'm gonna say 48 or 64 hours is what I won't use it unless I get me 3 or 4 days of 80 to 85.
Yeah, I've always heard 80 degrees is like a threshold.
In my opinion, do not use it on small colonies. You want pretty strong colonies. You don't want to use it in either one of them. I'm going to suggest that you don't want to use Formic or Apigard for nukes. 5-frame nukes if that's for small colonies. It's just too hot for them. Either one of them, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, I've just learned to stay away from it down here probably because I don't want to come home with a sunburned queen,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've got enough trouble. I kill queens well enough doing it on my own, much less having them.
I'm pretty good at it. I'm pretty good at it too, Paul.
I don't need chemical help doing it. Well, gentlemen, I think I'm probably going to bail here a little bit. I appreciate y'all coming on and not leaving me out here by myself. I just was looking for like on Thursday night and nobody's on. I said, I'm just going to punch out here and see what happens.
I'm certainly glad you did, because Ricky had texted me and said he was going to prolong it for the night. He was tied up, wouldn't be able to get on, so I was kind of just streaming around, and I seen said something about some outfit in Louisiana. I thought I'd just tune in and see who it was. Sure enough, it was.
Who's this Jack Leg trying to sit out here and we got to make sure, down here in Louisiana, we're backwoods, right, Joey? Our internet don't always work right and all that kind of stuff. So we've got to feed the squirrels to make sure the
You
electricity
guys,
is going.
you're there in the middle of Baton Rouge, and Joey's out there in Franklinton area.
Yes, he is.
Right here, you guys are in the middle of about like downtown New York. When I come down there, it seemed to me like.
Well, we'll feed you good whenever you come down here, right? You go home 5 pounds heavier than you came down here, right?
And Joy fed me good. He down at that little old restaurant there in Franklinton, we had some good victuals in there.
Well, come on down. We'll treat you right again. Y'all have a great 4th and great rest of the weekend.
Yep.
And we'll see you next time around.
See y'all.
Good night,
later.
everyone.
Good night, everyone.